Welcome to the Michigan Travel Show, a kaleidoscope of stories about the people, places, and events that shape our great state.
We're in Traverse City, and it's Traverse City Beer Week. And of course, we had to come around and visit some places we hadn't seen before. One of them is the Jolly Pumpkin out on Old Mission Peninsula. Think where Bowers Harbor Inn is, and you found the Jolly Pumpkin. And with us is the master brewer himself, Mike Hall. Mike, tell us a little bit about how the Jolly Pumpkin got here.
Well, thanks for coming. And we got here basically by the fact that two of our partners, John and Greg, John Carlson, Greg Lobdell, they wanted to save a building. And they came up with a way to do it. So with them and my other partners, Chet Zapika, Tony Grant, and Ron Jeffries, the actual founder of Jolly Pumpkin, we came up with a way to put a brew pub in here and a production facility and keep this place alive. We also put a distillery in. We're standing in front of our pot still. And we took it from there. The property we actually donated to the Conservancy, so nobody can ever knock this down, even after we're gone, if we ever are, hopefully not. But in that event, it'll still be here. So, we kind of gave back to the community right away, and obviously there's some tax breaks for us, so let's not pretend we're not like somewhat self-serving, but the main thing is to make great beer.
Well, that's a really cool historic preservation story. And the beer itself is a pretty good story because craft beer is taking off in Traverse City and elsewhere. And so if you're a master brewer, what does that mean? How do you get that title?
Well, I did the full apprenticeship in Europe, actually 2 years in Europe, in England, a year in Canada, and a year here in the States. And then I went back and did my master brewer's exams in Russia. So after 7 years, I'm not capable of surgery, but I can definitely make you a pint of beer or distill some spirits.
A world tour to learn how to make beer.
That's the right way to do it, you know.
And you're here in Michigan, in Old Mission Peninsula, by way of Maine, Kennebunkport, and New Brunswick. How did that happen?
Well, when I finished my apprenticeship, the first part of it, I moved back to Canada, and then I followed myself down here to help some guys brew some beer, train a few brewers. Sam Calagione, Dogfish Head, I trained him. I built Magic Hat while I was working for a consulting company, Peter Austin Partners, who actually I apprenticed under first, and then eventually found my way west by virtue of just building breweries for people. I met my partners now back in '94 when I built Grizzly Peak for them, and since then I built several other breweries, Bastogne, North Peak, etc. And then eventually they made me an offer I couldn't refuse, and that is Old Mission Peninsula.
So you're the tie that binds Grizzly Peak, North Peak, and Jolly Pumpkin something ale?
I'd say I'm the common brewer. I'd say John and Greg are the ties that bind. Yeah.
I was wondering, and now you settled that question, so that's pretty cool. There's a machine over here, and we have some pictures of it that has a story.
This is our brew house. This brew house, the original brew house, was the size of this giant bronze tank behind your videographer there, and all our production for North Peak for the first 3 years came out of this facility. So we realized that we had to expand to a much bigger facility. So we went from this 5,000 square foot facility to a 77,000 square foot facility down in Dexter and merged with Jolly Pumpkin. So other than that tank, everything else here used to be 50 barrel. Now we're doing a 10 barrel system, but this 10 barrel system was actually a system I designed back in 1997. Global used to be my old company. With my old business partner, Chris Doe, who now owns Cold River Vodka in Freeport, Maine.
So designing a system is a completely different twist on being a master brewer here.
No, it's not. That's part of your apprenticeship.
Okay.
Designing tanks, understanding everything. Like when you do an apprenticeship in brewing, you have to know everything, steam requirements, everything. So it's a comprehensive training when you get a proper apprenticeship. So that's why, no, this is part of what you learn. If you don't know how to do this, you don't pass your exams.
Wow, that's interesting to have to demonstrate that, right?
There you go. Well, I'm glad I got a chance to. Now everybody just, it's not just a title.
Okay, we've moved over here to where there are these turquoise tanks. What's going on with these guys?
These are old transport tanks that we got from England from way back in the day when people used to have tied houses, so they were tied to the brewery. All the beers that were served from one brewery, but out in the country, they would have the same style of tank in the basement, and then they would drive up with a flatbed truck with these ones with all the different brands of beer in, and they just hook up a hose and send them down. Only trouble is hygiene's an issue, and so people were just spreading infections around entire states. So these tanks suddenly became available. So we got them on the cheap. So it's a good thing that's why every 7-barrel system, everybody always wonders, like, what a weird number. Why a 7-barrel system in America? Well, a 7-barrel system in America is a 5-barrel tank in Europe. And almost every brewing system for brew pubs was based on the old surplus 5-barrel tanks. These are actually 2.5s, imperial barrels, that is. Okay. But a 5 imperial barrel tank is actually a 7-barrel US. And that's why most brew pubs started out as 7s and then pre-mutations, 14s, etc. It all starts with these.
So it's kind of like a brew pub's version of the metric system versus the one we have, which is kind of weird. So,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Let's talk about beer. It's really fun to be in Traverse City because craft beer is present everywhere. There's lots of places, and we've been to some of them many times before. So this is the first time we stopped here, and I've been sampling IPAs, and this is the Golden Dragon. Tell us a little bit about this one.
The Golden Dragon is a session IPA. It's brewed down in Dexter by Ron. All the Jolly Pumpkin beers are still controlled completely by Ron. He's in charge, and he tastes and blends them as he sees fit. And that's just a very nice light IPA, farmhouse style still, but an IPA. So it's got a very nice crisp tart finish, not too much complexity in the body, and a very nice hop aroma in there with the sourness. It is oak aged for a little bit, so it's got all the best features and quaffable as hell.
It's tempting, that's for sure. So why is craft beer itself becoming a much bigger industry and part of the popular culture scene?
I think quality of life trumps cheap. In a nutshell, I mean, when I first came to this country, which was back in '93, as a brewer, everybody ate at McDonald's. Now people eat sirloin, or they eat, even better, filet. And I think the same thing. If you're not going to, I think with beer, people want quality. They no longer want quantity. Quantity is not where it's at. And I've watched this industry grow from having less than 4% of the market share in the last 22 years that I've been here, and now we're approaching 20%. We just watched AmBev and friggin' SAB merge because they're that scared. And that's how I see it. And they've taken over some breweries successfully. They've taken over some breweries that have been absolute failures, microbreweries, and they'll continue to do so. But the reality is America wants quality, and America's going to get quality because that's what we deserve.
Well, Traverse City seemed to get there first and seems to be the biggest in Michigan. Why is Michigan and Traverse City such a magnet for craft beer?
Well, I will actually give credit to a couple guys that I built a brewery for back in 1995. It was Jack Archibald and John Edstrom. They built Traverse Brewing Company. Now, the spin-off guys from that were Joe Short. He was an apprentice there. John Niedermeyer, who owns Terra Firma. He was an apprentice there. Russell Springsteen, who owns Right Brain. He was an apprentice there. That brewery spawned some really good breweries around here. So those three...
Mothership.
Thank you. The mothership. So those three, after Traverse Brewing Company, kept it going. And since then, there's just been, and then, of course, North Peak also, which I built and installed downtown Traverse City some years ago. And now here I am at Jolly Pumpkin. So, like, the 5 core breweries in this area are all from a pretty legitimate source, i.e. us. And moving forward, everybody else, we're almost every other brewery in town. Somebody worked at one of those other breweries I just named. So there's just a great culture of quality. And quality is the key because, novelty lasts a year, maybe 2, but quality lasts forever.
I think one of the things that's a little bit hard to understand sometimes is why having a bunch is better than one.
Because there's 2 things, choice and local pride. And if there's quality there, then everybody will mix it up.
And besides, you have to sample each one to make up your own mind. Well, I've made up mine. Golden Dragon, here we come.
Cheers.